Let's talk to Richard Martin, former Republican senator from Ohio. Welcome to the show.
How are you, fellas?
Great. How are you?
I'm quite well.
We figured we'd start off with a basic question. What do you think is the biggest misconception of your party right now?
People often accuse us of not standing for anything, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I've initiated a whole lot of legislation. When I was in Congress, I proposed a whole bunch of bills. None of them got through, but I thought that we should develop a national cologne. America looks great. I think it ought to smell great. I propose that we make bomber jackets tax deductible. I propose that we ban nudity in diaper commercials. Enough is enough. I propose that we make it a hate crime to harm someone inside a gated community. The list goes. We should use the moon for target practice. We should officially declare America #1. So to sit there and say that I haven't, my party doesn't do anything is a complete misconception.
Those all sound like fantastic bills. Why do you think they didn't get through?
I don't know. I suppose the fact that nobody voted for them probably had something to do with it. But people are afraid of folks that think outside the box, like myself. I've always been a bit of a maverick. I suppose I get it from Pops. He always told me. He said, "Son, if you can walk hot coals in diapers, you'll soar the skies in a business suit." And he was right. I think that's what he said. I couldn't tell. Prison glass is very thick, but Dad always took us out on Sunday afternoons. He'd find someplace nice and quiet out in the countryside, and he'd focus in on our flaws. And I think that helped build me into the fellow that I am today. I pass it on to my kids. I have 2 beautiful kids, 3 total, but two are just beautiful. And I never let them know which one's not beautiful. That keeps them on their toes. It builds character, just like Dad did with me. So I think that's just who I am. And I don't think people were ready for me when I served. I think, I think I was like a Hot Pocket that you take right out of the microwave. There wasn't a plate for me. And so people tried to grab me with their fingers, and some of them got a little uncomfortable.
Well, yeah, because once that filling comes out, it's just boiling hot.
Yeah, it's like lava, the center of those things.
Now, you called yourself a maverick. I was wondering, did John McCain steal that from you, then?
He probably did. Although I got to say, I'm a fan of John's. I really would have liked to have seen him and Sarah guiding the nation. Sarah got a lot of really unfair press, and she's a neat little gal. I thought she would have brought a real freshness to the office. She wouldn't have come to Washington jaded by familiarity with the political process. I thought that had been real neat. And I'll be honest, I thought she had a real kind of Dr. Quinn freshness about her that our country could have benefited from. But be that as it may, I guess it wasn't their time. America felt that they needed to play the violin by voting who they voted for, and there we have. And by the way, I'm a Tea Party guy, and folks like to portray us as they say, "Oh, you're racist. These Tea Party things are racist." That's ridiculous. We just happen to see Obama as a very, very, very fiscally irresponsible non-white.
Well, how do you feel about the fact that he's half white?
It doesn't matter to me. I don't consider him black or white. I consider him gray.
So would you like to see Palin run in 2012 then for the party?
Oh, I sure would. I'd like to see her and Michelle Bachmann team together, and I'd like to see their campaign run by Ann Coulter. I think that would just be a leggy, coltish trio of firebrand, sexy mouthiness. I would just, wouldn't that be neat?
That would be neat. Do you think that would get a lot of independents voting for the party?
It would. I think it would definitely cater to all those guys out there that don't do anything but read Playboy. You know, they're just going with their guts and their grinds, because ultimately, isn't that how decisions are made, with your gut and your grind?
I think so.
Yeah. Sometimes your toes, but mostly your gut and your grind.
Did it anger you when liberal politicians like Al Gore and Barack Obama get Nobel Peace Prizes, and you or Sarah Palin haven't?
Yeah, it's pretty outrageous. It's outrageous when you think about it. You know, what has Al Gore done other than run around shrieking like a schoolgirl that some snow's melting? I don't get it. You know, but isn't that a Swedish prize or something?
Yeah, it's like owned by.
Yeah, well, there you go. You know, a bunch of gals with hairy armpits voting for, you know, some quasi-homosexuals. Is that a shocker?
Speaking of homosexuals, it looks like Don't Ask, Don't Tell will be officially repealed. What's your take on that?
You know, I am opposed to gays in the military. It takes the dignity out of killing. One of my ex-wives, Marilyn, said to me one time, she said, "Richard, why do you hate the gays so much?" I said, "Marilyn, I don't hate the gays. I'm a Christian. I hate their faggoty ways. You know, I resent them thinking they can have a bathhouse fling and then march up the same aisle to the same altar that has been so sacred to me on 3 separate occasions."
So were you angry over Michael Steele's situation?
In terms of what?
About how he used Republican money to go to a strip club?
You know, isn't that getting a little nitpicky? You know, Michael comes from the streets. That's what the guys that bring a hip-hop freshness to the Republican Party, that's what they're going to do. And listen, I'm not a fan of the hip-hop or whatever, you know, the African boom-boom music. I'll be honest, I find the lyrics to be godless and self-aggrandizing. I find the pointing in the videos to be redundant. And I find the bass to be unnecessarily loud in relation to the treble. That being said, I think Michael's a neat guy, and he's a maverick. So if that's what he's got to do, that's what he's got to do. But I tip my hat to him and his afro.
Since a representative from Ohio, a former representative, are you going to try to use any of your pull to keep LeBron James in Ohio?
You know, that's not really my place to decide what those folks do on the basketball court. I sure hope he stays because he's a winner and he seems like a real clean-cut fella. I'm not a big fan of basketball. I don't see enough familiar faces out there for me to be comfortable with it. I think there ought to be an investigation into it. But I'm told I'm crazy. If I'm crazy, why is Duke so good?
Very excellent point.
Yeah.
What other sports do you think need investigations?
And by the way, this doesn't mean you know, a lot of people think that this is racist. This is about equality. I think we ought to have a special Hall of Fame for the well-spoken blacks. They're class acts and they deserve a pat on the head. So, you know, don't go pointing your finger at me saying, you know, you don't like black people. I don't. I think when we see good ones, we should definitely shine the spotlight on them pat him on the back.
Would you be willing to partner with Vice President Joe Biden on some sort of initiative for clean, well-spoken blacks?
I'm not really a fan of Joe Biden, but, I wouldn't be opposed to his sit-down with some Pilsner and maybe some chips.
As a politician, do you trust politicians when they switch to your side, like Joe Lieberman? Do you get a calm feeling with Mr. Lieberman?
I look into Joe's eyes and I get a calm sense of Armageddon. I don't know if that makes sense, but I don't see him just as an American or just as a paranoid Jew, but I see him as someone who suffers also from a bad back.
Makes sense.
I don't know if does that make any sense?
Yeah, I think I can see that.
Every time I see Joe Lieberman, I want to hug him. I want to say, Joe, I understand you want to blow up all the Arabs. I do too, but let's take it one Hellfire missile at a time.
That's a nice
Joe wants.
patience.
It is. Joe just wants it all at once. He's a little greedy with his Arab blood, and I find that to be a little off-putting. You can't drink Arab blood by the gallon. You need to drink it by when you order a small orange juice,
yeah.
That's how you should drink your Arab blood. And those little juice things, where the waitress brings it and you're like, really? That's a large orange juice?
So it's more of a sipping beverage.
Absolutely.
All right.
But I think we need people like Joe, because then we can go, oh, okay, I'm not crazy. He's crazy.
Speaking of crazy, how do you feel about Glenn Beck? I haven't seen you appear on the show. Is there any tension between him and you, or?
Not at all. Glenn is a great guy who works wonders with a blackboard. I don't know if you realize this, but he is actually a doctor.
Really?
He got his PhD in sincerity, and nobody can tell it to you like it is. And I wasn't sure I liked Glenn until one time I saw him talking about his country, and he cried, and I said, well, he must care about his country. He's crying. And and from then on, I've said, this guy cares about America, and he's not afraid. He's not afraid to say that he loves America on Fox News, and that takes a bold fella to do that. I saw a fellow one time, a member, Leonard Skinner, in between songs, he let the crowd know he wasn't gay, and I thought that took tremendous bravery. I thought, good for you. We need more folks like you. One time I saw Ted Nugent at a concert say that he doesn't like illegal immigrants. Again, we need people like that willing to step forward in the sea of hostility and to say the unpopular truth.
On that note, illegal immigrants, how do you feel about Arizona's new anti-illegal immigration law, SB 1070?
Everybody thinks I hate illegal immigrants. I don't. I say if you want to come here legally, you get in line with all the other immigrants, and you want to get in line, you want to absorb our culture, you want to learn our language, I welcome you to the other side of town.
Right.
My problem with the Hispanics, and I don't hate you. I have nothing but respect for you. You folks have a rich history of physical labor. I applaud that. But I do question the rate at which you give birth. I would suggest that it is a uterus and not a turnstile.